Yeah, it's a nice bright Saturday and a good day today for sure. At least on my end, it's good. Well, I thought I'd talk a little bit about how I finally had decided to retire some years ago. My wife and I had spent a pretty extensive amount of time figuring out what we wanted to do and where we were going to settle. And well, biggest thing was, could we learn to live on the income that we had put away for us? And we looked for uh, financial advice from a couple different banks and some of the people in the know in the company that I worked for at the time. And there was kind of a lack of real advice, stuff that is it really in your best interest. The banks all, of course, they want to invest your money for you. And they want you to get into their accounts. Some want to sell you annuities, things like that. Biggest problem with most of the annuities out there is you're locked into them. And if you need cash quick, well, you can forget that. Not the greatest thing in the world, at least in my book. I'd rather have my cash, or at least I want my investments so I can turn them into cash without restrictions. Having said that, some of the stuff I kept in savings. Some of it I invested in CDs and some in stock. And the portfolio that I had built was all the above, and I had a small pension and then, of course, Social Security. And the first year, of course, getting your feet wet is the scariest year you'll ever have in retirement, probably. Unless the doctor says that you better hurry up and do what you're going to do. That's a scary statement. Health-wise, by the time I retired, I wasn't in too bad a shape. I suffered a stroke a few months before I retired, and that helped me make the decision. If your health starts deteriorating, there's no amount of money that can replace the days that you might have ahead of you that you want to enjoy. So you just have to say, I think I've got enough, or at least I'm satisfied with what's there, and we'll move on. And the way I'd had it figured out, it was perpetual. In other words, there was money coming in all the time from a lot of different places, so that if the market was down, CDs would pay. If CDs were down, maybe bonds would take care of things. There's just a lot of things out there to invest in, and a little bit of advice from the guy that handled stock for me helped me make some decisions that paid off for quite a few years there. And the first year, of course, we got out with I bought a motorhome, and we took it out and traveled. My favorite state was Texas, and I went down there to see the daughter and son-in-law and grandkids, and wish them all well and have a good time down there. That was right off the bat when I retired. And I come close to retiring down there. Matter of fact, I almost bought a place not too far from where my daughter is down there. It was a temptation. But the house I have, I bought it over 5 years before I retired. And it had a lot of the things that we wanted. And even though it's not too close to a major city, everything else was there. And there is a couple hospitals fairly close within, I'd say 15 minutes, that if I needed care right away. And if I had to have a helicopter ride, and we have a field right behind me and to the south a little bit, that the emergency helicopter is willing to pull people out and take them to a major city where we can get, say, if we had a heart attack or something really major would happen. We have ways to get out of here and get into medical care. And that's important when you retire. There is a small grocery, Dollar General down, I can see the Dollar General, it's just south of me here. Let's see, cornfields out that way and around up over there and a few homes before you get to the cornfield. Lots of trees. So it's kind of an ideal situation. I do have a state highway out here that can get me anywhere I want fairly quick, and it's all good roads. In the first 3 years I lived here, every major artery out of this town was redone, which was really something. And the roads around here are good, so I don't have a problem driving on them. It's not hard on the car or truck. Everything worked out. And the first 7 or 8 years, I kept myself kind of busy out here in the garage because I like classic vehicles. And back then I had a Jag, a 71 Mustang convertible, a 65 Thunderbird. 65 Thunderbird was all original, looked like brand new, and smelled like new inside. It wasn't musty or any of that. No rips, tears, stains anywhere in that car. No rust, zero rust. It had set a while, so I did have the motor rebuilt back to original specs, and the transmission the same way. The motor I sent to Wisconsin to have it done. There's a specialty shop up there, way up there, I guess. I did it through a Ford dealership so that I could make sure that I got it done right. And I come back and it really run. The first thing I did, and this, my Thunderbird had posi in it, and I thought, well, best thing to do is for me to stomp it after I left the dealership. And they would lay some black strips out there, but it wasn't anywhere near as powerful as I thought it should have been. It was a 390 with a 4-barrel, but no cam or anything like that. It was all stock. So it was a beautiful looking car. It didn't have a lot of miles on it. It just set too long. That's why I did that. And the one thing it really needed was I should have took it into a upholstery shop. The leather works inside were immaculate, but the foam was deteriorating. And as I used it, it was compressing, and underneath the seat you could see where it was falling apart in little pieces. So if I'd have done anything over again, it would have been to take it in and have all the upholstery, not the upholstery itself, but the foam padding in it all replaced. That was the only thing it was missing. Even the carpet was in good shape, so, and everything in the trunk, I mean, no problems. I did have modern tires on it. I probably bored you with that unless you're a classic car lover. I had, before that, I had a 1954 Chevy two-door that was a one owner, and I bought it from Mecum Auction. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Had just regular old 6-cylinder. It was a 54, so it had that 235 in it, and which is a good 6. It's a straight 6. They'll start in the coldest weather with no problem, and they go right on down the road. Now, I didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have it back then, but it was a good car. 2-door, one owner. It was immaculate, and I should have never sold that car. If I had it, I would still drive it right now, even though it don't have air. I'm spoiled with air conditioning, by the way. And it didn't have power steering either, but it had the big steering wheel, so it wasn't that bad as long as if the car was moving, you could steer it easy. And there was no suspension problems. If I remember right, it had somewhere, I was thinking it had less than 30,000 miles on it. It was low mileage, and it had set for a couple of years. So the owner apparently had died, in the estate. It was sold through the estate through Mecum Auction, it's my understanding. And I did, like I say, I did resell that later. Trying to think what else I bought out there. I bought several cars from Mecum Auction over the years. Always like dealing with them. You get a chance to go out and listen to the engine run. You can't drive them, but you can do a lot of things as far as inspection and look at any records that might be there. If for some reason they have trouble with the title, you get your money back. All you need to bid is a letter of credit. And then you can write a personal check. Once it clears, they send you the title. So it's a good outfit to deal with. What else did I do in the early retirement? I think early on I told you our place was kind of a blank slate for the yard. So we had planted bushes and cherry trees. I even planted a peach tree back here in the back. We had a couple of those, they're pear trees, but they're non-bearing. Tornado grabbed them right out of my yard here. I had one up here right outside this door. Well, the door's over here, but right outside between these two windows. And it kind of corkscrewed it and took it up and got the corner of my garage and took out part of my fence here on the north side. So it was it was quite an ordeal. The other one, I picked it up and spun it just about into my neighbor's yard over there. Luckily, they come over and we had the yard cleaned up in about an hour. Everybody had chainsaws and a big pile of wood over here at my neighbor's, and as they had time, they burned the pile. So it worked out real good. It took both the covers off my air conditioner over here at my motorhome, and I had a bass boat sitting here, and it picked it up and threw it over here into the other side of my driveway. Spun it around and set it down. It didn't do any damage to it. I come out here and see all the disarray out here. I thought, oh boy, my toys are gone. The neighbor, he's got a storage unit right over here. Right, it's right out. It's almost on the highway. It picked up a classic car. I think it was like a '58. Might have been a Chrysler 2-door. Beautiful car. It picked it up. It was sitting inside the building, and put it into the lot. It was about it wasn't quite a half a block that it blew it over there, and took half that building and picked it up and blew it, scattered it for several blocks to the east. That tornado, it did some damage to my neighbor up on the hill up here. It took his house and he just got it remodeled. It got part of his siding, his roof, and some of his windows. I think he had just finished it. Now, I had just had a new roof put on my house, and all my shingles were intact. I'm really surprised. I got those heavy-duty shingles put up there, and they did the job. I guess I was lucky. It just didn't. There's a lot of houses out there lost part of their roofs. I didn't lose mine. I was lucky. It looked like the tail had jumped back and forth right through here. It took my house and shook it. I mean, I was in the living room when it happened, and you could visibly see the walls move. And I thought for sure that we were going to be a goner. I thought it was going to lift my house off the foundation, but it didn't. And I don't know if it did any damage above or anything. Sometimes they can twist trusses and the wood around a little bit and knock them out of kilter. I didn't even have any sheetrock in the house that showed any stress cracks. It did, even though it shook it, it didn't bust it out. Luck. Good Lord looking after me. Hopefully I'm not boring you. Since I retired, and I remodeled the house, and I do have a good story about that house that I remodeled. Well, good and bad. My wife and I spent almost 6 years remodeling it. We thought if things got bad, if we couldn't get around, we would move into the house. It was around 1,000 square feet, 3 bedrooms and a bath, and kitchen, dining, utility, and a living room, small living room. All the rooms were small in that house. Small corner lot, walking distance to a grocery store and a small mall. another town, quite a bit bigger than this, but a hospital within 5 minutes. It really, the town has everything. As it was, I had a chance to sell it, and I did. And that's the story. That's kind of a bad story, but I sold it on a land contract. Wouldn't do that again. That brought lots of problems. Oh, let's see. Oh, and I think I told you a long time ago, my yard is a half-acre yard, so I've got a portion of it for the dog so he can run around. It's with privacy fence in and stuff like that. The rest of it is all open around. Every year we do something new to it. I had a all-new stone front put out for steps and patio and stuff in the front. 2 years before that, I had a new deck built out here. Pulled it up off the ground about 3 feet, and we'll put better steps in it. Pergola style up on top. Railings all the way around. It's nice. I like it. If I get a chance, I'll take some pictures of it and put it up on here one of these days. Let's see. That's about it. I mean, other than trees and bushes and things like that, we just build it in what we wanted. We got to a point where we really don't look towards selling out and moving. And we did look at a lot of different places. We looked at some in Florida, clear out in Arizona. We thought about Sun City. I had a realtor looking at places in villages down there and homes around Ocala. And I looked at different things. You know, I even had thought about if I would want to move into a high-rise down around like Miami or something. That was out because I like yards and I like a lot more freedom that a house would give you. One thing I didn't like was some of the restrictions of the HOAs down there, and the pricing seemed to be way too much. Some of them I mean, they just weren't the kind you want. And I'm glad I didn't move down there. The taxes are quite a bit higher, and the insurance is, and you know, last few years it's blown up, the insurance down there. Now, that's not saying mine hasn't. In 2 years, my insurance has went up 50% here, where I'm at, 50%, maybe a little more from what it was. That's a killer. And because of the way the economy has went, the state has reevaluated the homes in the state. And so they've reevaluated this home about 30% higher than it was 2 years ago. And I don't know what that's going to do to my taxes because I haven't realized that on my tax bill. What I did is I run right in right away and look for some tax relief because I'm over 65. And I thought, well, some of it's based on your income. So part of it I couldn't get a relief on because my income was a little bit too high. So, but I did get some relief, not like I expected when I went in there to get the relief. If I lived anywhere else, you know, where they, not anywhere, but if I lived, let's say in Georgia, my taxes would be at least half of what I'm paying here, or maybe even less than that. It's unreal, the difference in taxes on real estate. But that's, I guess, the location you're in makes a difference, and you know, who knows? You can't figure that far ahead. Now, and overall, financially is your biggest worry when you retire. And I never had a problem with finances, and everything worked close to what I wanted. It was flat for a while, and during the Obama 8 years, it just kind of, I mean, it really was flat. And during Trump, for the most part, my income raised, and I did have, percentage-wise, it was a good bump. Okay, if I hadn't had that bump, I'd have had trouble with this next administration. The stock market looks like it's recovered, but the stock didn't recover the percentages of inflation. So when I look at the stock market and what I've got in real money, okay, the stock market's quite a bit higher, but my real money sitting there is not as high as it was when Trump got out. It's kind of a hard one to understand. Along with all this problem with the finances, and I had a guy tell me I was all wet about the money. He said, I made money the whole time under this administration, okay, which I find hard to believe because all the financial indicators say no. This guy figured out a way to make it. I don't know what he did. Okay. And yes, you're going to come back and you're going to tell me about the stock market. That's okay. I'm just telling you that I have my stock handled, okay, and most of it's in mutuals, and it all reflects the same. The losses that are there are there. I don't know how to explain it to you, but the second hit was buying power. The real loss is somewhere almost, well, it's hitting close to 37% in 3.5 years for inflationary financial downgraded of what you can buy. Now, I know a lot of you are going to argue with me and tell me all kinds of ways how you did, and if you're satisfied with what you got, that's fine. Everything I do is on a graph, and I judge it by that. And the percentages have always been right, and I look at it in real money, and I can see the reflection of what's going on. Now, I did take my portfolio, shook it up a little bit, reinvested it in a different manner. I'm still not breaking even on inflation, but I'm holding my own, okay? So by restructuring things, you may not lose everything, but you could. If I was to go through, let's say, 5 more years of the last 3.5, I would probably be in a soup line. And I'm not kidding. I wouldn't have this house here. Part of the reason is because of the tax increase on my house. My insurance is so high compared to what it was that it would, if I hadn't have planned ahead, it actually probably would have, I would have had to sell this earlier if I hadn't have planned far enough ahead and wasn't careful with what the money. Every year I was able to put money away that I retired. In other words, I made more money than what I spent. And not many people can say that. The second year that after this administration had got in, I had to pull a substantial amount of money out to maintain the standard of living that we were used to. Now, to say that I'm putting some back in, I am putting some back in, but it's not enough to keep ahead of inflation. With that, and I'll come back and do a lot more explanation about the retirement years, how to get there, little tricks to get around major problems for a retiree. Some of it health, some of it financial. Looking for the discounts, things like that. You have to be careful. Right now we're in the process of, we're thinking about, our cars are starting to get up there. I have one fairly new car. I bought it a couple years ago, and it only has a little over 9,000 miles, so we're going to keep it. But I've got 3 other vehicles that I'm thinking about getting rid of, and then I'll buy another new car or vehicle, or actually probably a pickup. I'm going to get rid of my 4-wheel drive MKX. It's a Lincoln, and I bought it when I retired, and it was mainly so I could pull behind a motorhome. You can pull it 4 wheels on the ground. It's a SUV put out by Lincoln. Same as a Ford Edge, exact same thing. Let's see, and of course, I'd probably sell this. I'll have to paint it first if I do that. And then I've got a Cadillac out here. It's an EXT Escalade and it is a pickup truck. And yeah, Cadillac did make a pickup for a while. It looks just like the Chevy Avalanche, it's just bigger, that's all. They take a Escalade frame, and they take the back end of it and make it into a pickup box. It looks good, it looks exactly like the Chevy Avalanche. It does have the 6.2 motor in there, LS motor. It's the same thing they put in the Vet, and it does have plenty of power. But boy, something that big, yeah, it does float when it's going down the road. But if that motor was in anything else, it would go like a Banshee. But it takes it fast enough, but it's not a race car. Nothing like a Vet. That's all I got. I'm gonna go ahead and hang this up, and we'll see how it does. Hopefully, I don't get too many haters today. I mean, what can you hate about retirement, right? So, I'll talk at you in the next day or two, and hopefully, I've got more about some of the surprises that retirement brings. Thanks for listening.